Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is the second episode of Blockspeak, where we tiptoe through the crypto, through and with some of the greatest people in this very, very strange industry. Last week, we interviewed someone quite awesome, and that was me. We've got,
It's a tough act to follow, basically.
you know what? So I'm going to introduce you now to Danish Chaudhry, who's the CEO of Bitcoin.com. He'll tell us, you, me, a little bit about himself. I think I might have made a mistake already. He's about to jump in. Over to you.
Hey, thanks for having me, Monty. So I'm not the CEO of Bitcoin.com. I'm the head of the exchange, the Bitcoin.com exchange. CEO of Bitcoin.com is Mate Toke. Okay. And he's been with Bitcoin.com since, I think, the very beginning. So he's been working with Roger since like 2013, 14 maybe, I think.
So that's Roger Ver, right?
Yeah, that's Roger Ver. So he's the executive chairman of Bitcoin.com, and he started the company back in the day.
So how do you work with the CEO? So how does that work?
So Bitcoin.com has multiple products. So it's got, Bitcoin.com as a company. We've got the news site, which is, I think it's frequented by 10 million uniques a month. We've got our Bitcoin.com wallet, which is kind of like one of the most popular Bitcoin wallets out there. And we've got various other developer services. We've got our own chain. We've got our mining services, games, and casino. And one of those services is the exchange, which I was brought on, I think, early last year to help build and lead and launch.
And you were at Skycoin before, right?
I was at Skycoin before. I was with Skycoin for about 2 years. Skycoin, for those who don't know, is a decentralized meshnet. So we created a protocol that allowed people to basically create a meshnet around a specific area, and using the blockchain to kind of monitor payments and so on and so forth, and allow people to create dApps and that sort of thing.
Right, okay. So what is your responsibility on the exchange? What do you actually do?
So everything. So I lead team that takes care of the technology, the compliance, the business development, the marketing. So everything from what you see on the website all the way to all the nitty-gritty backend sort of thing. It's kind of like a JV with one of our partners called Bequant, who help us out with some of the compliance stuff and some of the backend processes. But all the marketing, like talking to projects, bringing them on, launching them, doing all sorts of marketing and promotion, trying to drive customers to the exchange sort of thing, to give them access to all the tokens that we list sort of thing. So that's what I head up.
Yeah. That sounds like a big gig, bro.
Yeah, it's not bad.
So volatile days. I think Bitcoin's price has gone up 20% this week, I think, after the slight rebound.
Yeah. It's well, I mean, we all called it the halving before the actual halving sort of thing, where everybody's portfolio kind of, in one day. I was actually just walking my way to work when it went from 7.5 to like all the way to 3K or something.
Yeah.
So we kind of have rebounded from there. We're about 6.5, 6.7 right now, I think. And we're just trending on the line where either we go up all the way or we kind of just coast through it here. So.
One of the things that's kind of intrigued me a little bit about the last crazy 3 or 4 weeks is the havens, which I figured that Bitcoin and other cryptos would have been, and gold as well, and oil. Everything down until this week, which I think is just a minus spike. But I think we'll be going back down again. But it does seem a little bit as if things have changed for Bitcoin. It seems to me.
Yeah, so what was surprising is that when the markets dipped, the traditional markets dipped, Bitcoin dipped as well. And I think there was a bit of automatic selling because market makers and everybody else kind of got liquidated immediately. And so all of a sudden you see this giant thing. And that kind of moved in parallel with the rest of the market. Like gold went all the way down. Silver was at under $20 or $11 or whatever it was. And so, that whole narrative that we spoke to people like, oh, hey, it's like a safe haven, that kind of deviated quite a bit, actually, because we saw that people wanted to get cash, but that was surprising to everybody. But now it's coming back, and people have realized it's a little bit more resilient. And then, the Fed just printing unlimited amounts, just printed like 2 trillion of cash, right? So that brings the question, like, what the hell is going on? Like, that's obviously going to bring about, huge amounts of inflation. We'll probably have like one of the Zimbabwe situations sort of thing. And so I think that's why crypto's making a bit of a comeback.
What do you think was the kind of inflection point for that, or the kind of ignition point for that? Because I think you know it, I know it, most of the people that are watching this broadcast know it.
Yeah.
But it does seem a bit weird. There's been a bit of a flip-flop in the last week or so. But, I know they're just 2 trillion, 1 trillion, I mean, whatever the trillion is. You know what I mean? Obviously, that's got a lot to do with it. But it seems to me that people are starting to come around to Bitcoin again. So,
Yeah, I think it's the fact that it's a safe and resilient. People have realized it's a safe and resilient asset, right? Like, it's kind of when the dip happened, when the S&P fell, and the market was halted like 5 times, right? So everybody's scared. So it only makes sense. The average person would be like, let me just take my money out of the banks. Let me just put it in cash, sort of thing. Yeah. Slowly but surely, people realize, oh, Bitcoin is cheap, and it's probably my last time to buy it for this much. Like, people have started to come back, sort of thing. I think, when there is an overall level of security, that the Fed printing money and banks helping out and people giving small business loans and that sort of thing, that's coming back a little bit. So people have a little bit more confidence. I mean, there is still a strong correlation of the financial markets and the crypto markets, obviously. So we can't ignore that as much as we want to say. But I think the overall security that the governments have tried to provide has helped bring back confidence within crypto and Bitcoin itself.
No, quite right. One thing that I read last week was that some were predicting, the perigee of all of this, that the oil would go down to a price of less than $0 because of the amount of money that it costs to store. You just get rid of it. So when you think of something as volatile as oil, and I remember the quadrupling of the price of
the price back in the day.
Literally back in the day when, I'd come home from school and there'd be candles and it was a 3-day week and all that stuff. So this kind of quarantine is nothing compared to that. It's
a little different, yeah.
But
no, go ahead.
No, after you, please.
Yeah, no, I think the oil thing is, oil itself is such a highly manipulated market. People think like, oh yeah, it's moving in with demand sort of thing. No, it's like highly manipulated. So it's kind of like, the price movement over there, it's never going to go down to zero. Larger economies still need oil to still sustain itself, sort of thing. So like, there isn't really like we shouldn't draw a parallel with like oil going down to zero because storage costs are high. It's because what's basically happened is Saudi Arabia has said, listen, we're tired of somebody else making the price of our asset. We'll go do it ourselves. So that's why that cascading effect has happened. But I think that's the same thing with Bitcoin. Like, there will be a point where, the cost of mining it is going to be higher than what the return's going to get. But slowly but surely, the market will correct itself because it's less onerous, it's less heavy, and it's, more resilient and easily accessible compared to, you can't go buy a barrel of oil, which is,
No, exactly. I mean, I think there's somewhere in the west of London where you can actually go to an ATM and get gold out. I wonder if they're different.
Yeah, you can go to Harrods and get like a gold bar out sort of thing. Only in Harrods to do that. Yeah.
You wouldn't believe how many people that I know in the last 10 days that have taken cash out of the bank.
Really?
You know what I mean? Just in case it goes crazy.
It's scary times, right? So like my sister's in New York and she was going to Bank of America and they limited her withdrawal to $3,000.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. So there's definitely one of those things. It's kind of like when Greece had capital controls, they shut down people. It was like 200 euros a day or 250 euros a day per person sort of thing.
Yeah.
So when there's a run on the banks, that's the type of stuff that they have to bring. And it's weird that people kind of want to go and get cash out.
Yeah, well, my friend of mine, he did the same thing, I think, last week, and they wanted to know the reason for him taking this money out. As if he was a drug dealer, or he said, "What do I do?" I said, "Well, just lie."
I'm gonna pay the builder or something. Yeah.
But it's an interesting. I mean, apart from the horror of the situation, you know what I mean. I had a 17th. It's my son's 17th birthday in the next 2 weeks, and
that's a sad time.
That's a sad birthday and all that stuff. And it was my wife's.
Well, we can all dial into Zoom and wish him happy birthday then.
Yeah.
A Zoom party now, yeah.
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah. But apart from the horror, this is a very, very interesting and revolutionary time to live. And it's made me laugh about the volatility of stock markets. I mean, this volatility is nothing compared to Bitcoin over the last 3 or 4 years, is it? I mean, it's almost funny to see people panic about that.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's crazy because, like, I mean, volatility in traditional markets is a little crazy because of the sheer size of it, right? Like when you've got a $100 trillion market and all of a sudden like your S&P goes like that, then people are just like, what the fuck? But yeah, when crypto markets, like that's a daily move, like a 10%, 20% move. Yeah. Some other shitcoin moves by like 100%. Like people get used to it, sort of thing.
Would there be a point of saying what you were saying earlier about the oil market being highly manipulated and effectively a global cartel?
Yeah.
Is that something you can also apply to the whales in the Bitcoin world, or am I being naive?
No, it is. It's true. As much as I like to not say it, but there is a element of whale manipulation. Like, I mean, the asset's like $80 billion, like nothing, right? Like, or whatever the market cap is right now. Or the general market is under 200, or like 100 and under 100 right now, I think, maybe. When you have such a small market, like, your $10 million move can really move the asset by like 5 or 10%, right? And so somebody who, let's say some guy who bought 20,000 Bitcoin back in the day now is sitting on hundreds of millions that he can just easily use to long on one side, short on the other, sort of thing, play the futures, dump the market, make the asset move, sort of thing. It's very common in smaller markets, and it's something that we will see for the foreseeable until a lot more confidence comes in, the market grows, and so your curve kind of like flattens out, so your volatility is a little less, sort of thing.
Just like the virus. Oh, I'm going to cough. I may have it.
Oh no! Oh no!
I think I might have had it actually the last.
Okay. Well, at least you're on the other side of it right now. So that's
exactly. Yeah, thankfully, I live in I've got a garden, so I'm not stuck in an apartment. I hear rumours that your chairman of Bitcoin Jesus was in London this week. Is that right?
Yeah. No, he was briefly here. It was just like a business meeting sort of thing. He was flying around. I think he was just going back home. So he went stop, pit stop. We have partners here, and a lot of the companies that he kind of works with, like blockchain.com, for example, are here in London. So he kind of stopped by, had a few meetings, and then went on his way, sort of thing.
And what has he got, a private jet to do that, or what does he do?
Actually, good question. I don't know. Like I think he does, but I've never really kind of inquired. Okay. This time around, he was actually flying BA. So
last time I spoke to Roger was on stage. He was having a bit of an off with someone else. I can't remember his name, and Roger won it quite clearly.
Oh, Nouriel Rubini. We were at crypto, whatever it was, CC Forum.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, CC Forum. Yeah,
CC Forum. We had a big presence there. Yeah, Rubini came on, and Rubini is like the person who opposes the markets, but he loves the showmanship. He loves to be that person that kind of just says, I'll be controversial just so I can get airtime. And Roger won it fairly and squarely. Roger pulled out a note and said, this is bullshit. Like, we should believe in crypto, and that's what, the decentralized future of the world and that sort of thing, and peer-to-peer cash rather than central authorities sort of thing. So, yeah.
No, absolutely. It was before the London CC Forum conference. It was in Malta. It was up against a Bitcoin guy. He won that one as well, to be fair.
Was it MBS, like Malta Blockchain Summit?
No,
or Delta, or one of those?
It was Bitcoin v Bitcoin Cash. Roger was all over Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah.
I can't.
I can't remember that one actually. Yeah.
No, it was.
Yeah, but the CC Forum one was interesting. Like Roger loves to come to London, so like whenever he's here, we have like all these meetups, and so I had started the exchange, and I did a meetup, and like maybe 10 people showed up, 20 people showed up. But when Roger was in town, there was like 120 people at the same place. I was like, okay, well, I guess he is a lot more prolific, sort of thing. So.
Has he changed his mind about Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin? Where does he stand at the moment? I mean, I'm not deep in these kind of message boards or Reddit forums.
Yeah. No, I think like his MO has always been peer-to-peer electronic cash. I think it's as a company, it's become less of let's do Bitcoin Cash. It's more, we want to promote crypto for people, right? So it's not just BCH, it's not just BTC, it's every other crypto. And so like when you go to any of our services, you can buy pretty much any coin through like our credit card process. I think we have like 4 or 5 right now, but we'll expand to more. And on the exchange, we list pretty much everything. So I think the general stance is, let's kind of all come together and kind of say that, it's meant to be peer-to-peer electronic cash. It's meant to be crypto for everyone, financial freedom, and, unbank the bank sort of thing. It's less, let's kind of go down the BCH only path sort of thing. So.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, here in the UK, I think banks are trying to profit from the fact that people have got no money.
Yeah.
The mortgage companies, the mortgage companies have been quite amazing, offering 3-month holidays and making it very easy for people to do it. But then personal loans are being kind of withdrawn, overdraft rates have gone up. And it's like, can't they even get this one right? That this is a terrible, one of the things that I read from a VC the other day was that this is like the mobilization of 2 world wars and the Great Depression rolled into one. There's going to be a 20% global contraction of GDP this year. This has never happened.
Yeah, that was the forecast, yeah.
And they're still trying to use these short-term ways to stitch normal people up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's absolutely insane, right? Like that's what it was like China's going to contract by 20%. Now it's going to be globally 20%. I think, and the mortgage holiday, we saw that. And it was just like, okay, you get 3-month holiday, but you still get interest charged on that amount.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's not, they don't stop the interest payment. Like interest
no.
They're kind of like, so very clever. But I think this is what I don't think people have realized right now, and because the whole recession part is coming and it's going to be true, is what we're seeing right now is basically the bubble just burst over the last 10 years party that every banker had, right? Like we built them out in 2008, 2009. For 10 years, they had another party, and everybody knew it was highly overinflated. Everybody knew the market was like, overheated sort of thing. And so, you saw Tesla's stock go from like 300 to 900 in like a week. That never happens, right? And now it's come back down because it did a $100 billion round turn. But like, the market was overheated. And so what we're seeing right now is just an effect of that. Yeah. What we're going to see in 6 months to a year is the effect of the virus, where people don't have jobs. There is no spending in the economy. There is no free movement of cash. Like, the market's being held up by QE, that sort of stuff. So that's still coming. Right now, this is just the last 2 years of or 3 years of, pumping the market sort of thing.
Yeah. So are we going to go to a Zimbabwean style economy? I'll give you my opinion, right? Because you're a nice guy and you've got a beard that's nearly as good as mine.
Just call it the beard cast. It's great.
You know that. That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah.
But my beard's put me off track there. You have to keep talking for a minute. I've forgotten. I was going to say.
We were talking about the Zimbabwe economy. If we are going to go towards a Zimbabwe situation, and I think, it's possible, right? When you flood the market with a lot of cash, you make loans free. You, are just basically helicopter money all around. Then you get into a Zimbabwe situation where it's like a highly inflated economy, which is just teetering on the brink of collapse all over again.
No, exactly. What surprised me is that everyone the pound went down against the dollar. And then I looked at the kind of virus data and just thought, hey, listen, man, in the UK, right, we are a bit fucked as people, right? You know what I mean? We've left Europe, Brexit and all that stuff. London's different. But when it comes to mobilisation, we're quite good. So they asked yesterday for NHS volunteers, 250,000. I signed up to be a delivery driver or whatever. 400,000 people signed up.
I saw that last day. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're resilient people. But why would you go to the dollar for a safe haven when you can see that the line of we have the NHS. Everyone pays national insurance, and we're we get a great service, right? Under certain caveats.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great service regardless of what people complain about it. Like everybody plays NI, people get basic service. It's perfectly fine. Like I don't like the fact that people complain about the NHS. Like if you look at other services, if you go to the US for healthcare, it's like kind of insane, right?
Yeah.
So being a US citizen, having been in the US for a very long time and having lived here, I know how great the NHS is. But they go to a dollar mainly because the dollar is accepted everywhere, right? Yeah. I can take my 20 pounds, and if I go and pay for a cab, for example, in Europe, people aren't going to take it. If I take $10 and I pay anywhere in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, people will take it. Yeah. That's why people go to a dollar as a safe haven, basically.
No, I kind of get that, but I just think that in this present environment, because Corona is going to ravage the US. I mean, there's it's really, if Trump does his stupidity and brings everyone
opening the market in like April 14th or whatever, like by Easter, which is
because he likes Easter, the Easter bunny motherfucker. You know what I mean?
Well, he needs to win the election, right? So that's why he's bringing people back. Like that's what he's like, because he wants the economy back on track, and he's like, I'm going to run this into the election and try and win 2020.
Yeah, and I personally think that he's probably going to kill thousands of people with that decision. That's my opinion, and I don't think he cares because he's been hit himself. No one's staying in these stupid hotels.
Yeah,
he must have lost a load of money over the last month.
Millions. Yeah.
I don't care about people or old people. I just want the stock market to go up. So why? So in that case, then why doesn't the dollar go down?
It will eventually. I think right now it's still hanging from a safe haven, right? Like, but as soon as that happens, as soon as debts happen, I think over the next 6 months, like the dollar is going to devalue itself quite a bit. Like the more helicopter money they print, the more, I hope not, but the more the debt tolls rise, which is going to happen, the dollar, and people are going to start taking dollar out in cash and like that sort of. I think it's going to extremely devalue itself.
Okay, so listen, we're coming to the end. Let's go back deeper into a couple of more kind of questions about Bitcoin. Sure. The last question, obviously, will be your prediction. But before that, the Bitcoin halving is on its way. Could you explain what that? I mean, I kind of know what it means, but maybe there are new people to this podcast who don't know exactly what it means and what it means for the price of Bitcoin.
So the halving essentially means that your block reward halves, right? So every block that is mined, because Bitcoin is mined, right? And Bitcoin Cash is mined, and all the other versions of Bitcoin, there's like a lot of proof of work coins. Every block, which takes some time, which is like mathematical problems the miners solve and then produce Bitcoin in the end, you get rewarded with, I think right now it's 12 Bitcoin per block that the miners get. What the halving means is that block reward halves. So it goes from 12 to 6, right? So whereas first, I think when we were like, it was 50 Bitcoin per block, like not some time ago. So you're getting a lot of Bitcoin as a reward for spending the time and the resources to mine it, essentially. So right now, I think we're going to go from 12 to 6, which means there will be a scarcity of Bitcoin back in the market, right? So if you're producing 12, you're going to start producing 6 at the same time or a longer time. So that means there's less Bitcoin in the market. And obviously supply and demand dictates that as demand for Bitcoin goes up, and which it will eventually, and the supply is decreased, the price eventually goes back up, right? Yeah. So right now we're at 6.5. I think people have said, I think it's still currently it's positive for miners. I think the miner cost is between 4 or 5K, I believe. Average miner cost, not like, obviously it depends on electricity and a bunch of other factors. But I think we're at 6.5K. We will probably go back up 10K after the halving. Not immediately, but we will have like kind of a line back up, because we were at 10. We hit 11 recently, I think, not too long ago. And then we're at 7. And I think people thought that the halving is priced in, because, everybody thought that it's going to come in like 6 months, so I'm just going to like buy it up. But I think the real halving, when it comes around, that's when we'll come back to 10 to 12K.
Okay. And then after that, what do you think will go on after that? I mean, by the end of 2020, where will Bitcoin be?
By the end of 2020, I would say we should be around the 20 to 25K mark.
Do you really?
I think so.
Back to the heady days.
Back to the heavy days. I think what's going to happen is, and I kind of want this to happen, and I really want, like, 90% of the shitcoins that are listed on CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko, whatever, like people don't even know on obscure exchanges. I want them to die because they're just coins that people like took other people's money and then don't care about them, and now they're just assets that people like pump and dump or whatever that provide no use. You know, who wants YouTube on the blockchain with some weird token that you might not be able to stream any video on, right? Like, who wants shit like that, basically?
No.
So those need to disappear, and I think the market needs to contract. And hopefully, this will be a point where, like, you know, all of those kind of the tail end kind of dies, market contracts, assets are more concentrated, and then we can take it back up. So that's why I think when money enters into not 4,000 assets, but like 250 assets, that's when you see price appreciation.
No, absolutely. So I don't want you to give advice to people, obviously, because you don't want to make that mistake. But it would appear that, it seems from my perspective, that if you've got any spare cash, if anyone's got any spare cash, then Bitcoin would probably be a better bet than anything else around, especially with QE and trillions of dollars flying around.
Yeah. I think if you believe in traditional markets, you know, you are still subject to, you can buy stock right now because they're all at an all-time low. But, you know, you're still subject to people who are highly manipulating the market and, you know, QE and like all this sort of stuff, and the global recession. But I think the digital currency that we are used to, Bitcoin Cash, they're better safe havens and better investments because you know, you own it yourself. You can do what you want with it. You can spend it as you like. You don't have to run to the bank. Your keys, your money, essentially. I think like there will be a future. It's not too far off that there will be a future where everybody will be using electronic cash, right? We at Bitcoin.com, we already have a very big merchant services program. So like if you go to a BrewDog, you can pay with Bitcoin Cash, right? Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And so I think that future is close, and I think that's why I'd probably say, you know, if you don't want to go full risk on 100%, I'd probably say like, you know, put 5%, put 10%, just have something, just so you could say and be part of the economy and help it grow, and, you know, eventually hopefully use it very useful in the future.
Or actually be able to go out and use it. The last time we went for a drink at the Soho Hotel, I remember you ordering 2 double gin and tonics at a time.
That was a dark night. I think Evalio and I kind of went down a path, and we kind of like ended up at 2 a.m. somewhere, and it was kind of, the next day was not fun.
Good.
Which reminds me, I have to like chat to your friend who's got this really amazing like fitness app sort of thing at some point. But yeah.
Oh yeah, yes, absolutely. Oh God, I've forgotten all. Adam Baker.
Adam,
that's right. He's a good lad. He's a cage fighter, you know.
Yeah, no, he's great.
He's proper professional. But anyway, we're getting into personal chit chat. So I'm gonna close it off now. Thank you very much, Danish Chaudhry.
Thank you for having me. Who is
not the CEO of Bitcoin
not
Cash,
the CEO of
Bitcoin.com, but is actually runs the exchange. We got John McAfee hopefully coming on next week.
Oh, he's a great friend of mine. We should chit chat with him. You know the stories.
I know the story. I know the island. I know the stories. I know the yachts. I know them very, very well. But that's probably best.
To everything, but you know.
Yeah. Well, I'll bring it up with him personally. It'd actually be great to get Roger on, if possible. Do you know what I mean?
I'll check with Roger. It'd be great. Like he'd love to do that.
I enjoyed his company last time. Danish, thank you very much for your time, and we'll wish you a great, a safe time in these weird days.
Thanks.
And I'll see you back in the Soho Hotel in a couple of months.
For sure. Can't wait.
All right, mate. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Cheers.